Dude, let's go.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Untamed Outdoorsmen. Today we are back in the garage for another video, and today we're going to be doing a video on the newest rod that I bought for the fishing arsenal. So this is the Dobyns Champion XP 683C. So the Dobyns, as many of you know, in the fishing arsenal video we did back in April, I am a big Dobyns fan. I like Dobyns quite a bit. As much as I don't like sticking to one thing, because I really think that a lot of companies have their benefits compared to other companies, so I like to have a variety. Dobyns has been the standout for me. They definitely has, in terms of like the quality, in terms of sensitivity. The Dobyns rods, in my opinion, are kind of my go-tos for sure. I have plenty of Fury series rods. I have, I think, 3 of those. Pete has a Dobyns Caden series crankbait rod. We'll talk about that at a later point. And I now have this Dobyns Champion XP. So Dobyns are kind of my go-to rods for sure. And this one is, we'll go through some of the information here. So like I said, 683C. This is a 6'8" medium heavy fast. So the reason that I got this rod and the reason that I'm using it for is for spinnerbaits. So got a spinnerbait right here. This is a Dobyns Zinger. I actually like the Dobyns Zingers quite a bit. The reason I decided to get this was because my old combo was a Favorite Defender, like Lunker's TV edition from like 2019, 2020. It was at least a 4 or 5 year old rod. And it was okay. It wasn't a terrible rod, but it also wasn't a rod that I was going to use long term. At least that was the initial plan. But this rod is definitely an upgrade, and my spinnerbait setup was never something that I used a ton on the channel. You know, I was not really huge into spinnerbaits for a long time. I mean, we used them periodically, but spinnerbaits were not one of my main baits for a very long time. You guys barely saw me use spinnerbaits in the last couple of years. And I decided that I really should try to get back into using them because they are such a big bait and they work so well for so many people that I feel like I was kind of wasting a lot of time on the water by not throwing spinnerbaits and throwing something like a chatterbait in a situation where a spinnerbait might work a little bit better. So I ended up using spinnerbaits a lot more the last couple of weeks, and I quickly realized that Favorite Defender was not going to cut it long term. It was a 7.3 medium heavy. It was a heavy rod. Like, it just felt really heavy to hold. And for spinnerbaits, you know, it just wasn't the perfect setup. It was a better all-around rod than a spinnerbait specific setup. So that's why we went with this today. And I can tell right off rip, just some early impressions here. This is not a review video. I've been out with this rod one time when we went to Leeuwenbroek in the previous video. I had this with me. And early impressions, it's a very good rod. I can tell right off the bat it's a very good rod. Just going from the bottom down, we got the split grip here. This is the split cork. It's a really nice high quality cork here, and then you got the rest of the reel handle here. You have a Fuji reel seat. I actually really like these Fuji reel seats because your reels do not move at all when you're using them. I've come to find out the Fuji reel seats are actually one of the better ones for sure. But Fuji reel seat right there. Nice blank going across here. Compared to something like the Dobyns Sierra, the big thing is the weight. So this is significantly lighter than even, say, the Sierra, the Caden, or you know, the Dobyns Fury, the most popular Dobyns that's made. These are significantly lighter than all of those. I mean, you can tell right off the rip just from using it that it is lighter. You have the really nice Fuji guides for the rods as well, and they are really nice. But, you know, the reason that we went with such a short rod for spinnerbaits, and I'll show some examples of me casting. With spinnerbaits, you know, the biggest thing is getting that spinnerbait as far out as you possibly can. With, you know, having a longer rod like that, you get the power, but you don't necessarily get the distance when it comes to throwing lighter baits like this, because this is only 3/8 ounce. And on top of that, having the lighter rod allows you to be able to flick a lot easier and get a little bit more momentum on your cast. And I noticed with the older Favorite Defender, it was a lot harder to make those kind of casts. At least with this Dobyns Champion here, it makes making those precision casts so much easier. I cannot stress how much easier it really is. But that's really important for me, you know, to be able to have that ability to flip this spinnerbait around, and I'll show some examples of me doing that. But to be able to do that motion with spinnerbaits is actually really nice. And, you know, being able to throw spinnerbaits under docks a lot easier with such a shorter rod is a big deal. You know, you can get away with like a 7-foot medium heavy with spinnerbaits, absolutely. But if I had to pick one, a longer rod or shorter rod, I'm picking a shorter rod just because of that casting accuracy. And almost more importantly is having a really good reel for spinnerbaits. So I talked about this a few times, but when it comes to throwing these baits, like spinnerbaits and stuff like that, mainly spinnerbaits, you really want to fish these in wind or sunlight. Those are the two main times you want to throw these. And when it comes to wind, when you're throwing spinnerbaits like this, it's so easy when you get a really good cast out there, it gets caught in the wind and it slows down or sometimes goes backwards because of the wind. So you really don't want to have that happen because there's not much you can do to avoid it. But if you have a lower quality reel that doesn't have great brakes, those brakes are going to not really know what to do, especially, you know, especially in a very high wind scenario where the spinnerbait is completely stopping very quickly in the wind and you may not have time to adjust for it. A cheaper reel will give you a lot of bird's nest. So that's why it's really important to have a really good reel. So this is the Corrado DC. I've talked about DCs before on the channel as well. They're very enticing, especially to the younger audience. They're very enticing because of the noises that it makes. But in my eyes, I really only recommend a DC for baits like this. To be able to make those micro adjustments on the fly with a DC, especially in high wind scenarios, the DC is a very useful tool for that. Things like frogs and things like jigs, you don't need a DC, but things like spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, crankbaits, DCs are a lot more useful. So if you're curious on my opinion on DC, that's my opinion on it. Back to the rod. So this Dobyns Champion XP, I hope can make a very big impact on this channel. I really want to get into spinnerbaits more. I kind of feel bad that I didn't use spinnerbaits a lot more these last couple of years because I feel like I could have missed out on a lot of opportunity. But having this really short rod allows you to make those really good casts and get that proper distance efficiently, you know, and it's a super light rod as well. Very sensitive rod too. So one thing that I really like about this rod is the sensitivity, even compared to like the Dobyns Fury. The sensitivity is top notch. So with that being said, you know, compared to the Favorite Defender, that's really all I have to compare when it comes to spinnerbaits. This is miles ahead of that, especially when you're throwing the spinnerbaits, because this is so sensitive that I can actually feel the blades on the spinnerbaits moving when I'm reeling in with this rod. I did not feel that on the old Favorite Defender rod. So that is a huge deal to be able to feel pretty much everything going on with your spinnerbait underwater. That is excellent. That is an awesome feature. So yeah, guys, this is not a review by any means. This is just similar to our other, you know, videos like the Metanium video and like the St. Croix Bass X video. This is just sort of an introduction to it and just saying like, hey guys, we're going to be using this on the channel now. So if you want to get a long-term review, be sure to check out all of our future fishing videos. But yeah, guys, really hope you guys enjoyed this introduction and initial review. Really hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys in the next one. See you later.